Momentum is emotional,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? And we're guys oh, leave your emotions at home. But understanding the correct time for the correct emotions, whether you want them to or not, your team is driven from the emotions of the momentum or lack thereof.
Hey everyone, welcome to Crossroad Conversations with the Lewis Brothers, where we aim to share real stories about running a successful family business, working through adversity, and pouring back into the community that keeps our door open. We're your hosts, Matt, Shelby, and Taylor, and we bring you relevant local business advice and automotive insights that are sure to change the way you look at running a business, and maybe even throw in a plug for you to do business with us.
Welcome to Crossroads Conversation with the Lewis Brothers. Hey, we got the entire gang back in here today.
Oh, yeah.
All three of us, we've been spread across the U.S., but we're back in studio
We're
today.
here.
And you know, we're going to bring some relevant content for you guys today to help you with your business. And I love this one on episode 64. The momentum problem. How to get your team moving again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you heard what I said there, it wasn't how to get your team started. It's how to get them moving again. You know, when you were on a roll and then all of a sudden it came to a halt and you're like, what happened? Well, that what happened is what we're going to dive into today. Hopefully unpack and help you local business owners out there keep that momentum and that fire behind your team to stay successful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Diving in there, we got to go back to episode 62, the copycat trap, where you get caught in new trends without validating them. Don't get stuck in that. Go back, check out that episode. That was really fun to talk about. Always taking new ideas, be evolving in your business, but don't get caught in someone else's business that you have not vetted.
Whew.
So really big there to go back and check out.
Hate to hear that. Double check on that. All right. Don't forget, always find us at lewissuperstore.com, lewiscars.com, or for all things podcast, Crossroad Conversation podcast.com. Make sure you like or subscribe. So every week, every Thursday at 10 a.m. when that drops, you get the newest one. It'll drop and you can see what we talked about, what we messed up on, or what things are going good. So check that out for all the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
You bet. And we appreciate you guys when y'all are texting us questions or we see you out in public and you're like, hey, I wish you'd cover this. That's what we want to cover. We want to cover relevant information. 64 episodes in, it's time for us to cover what you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, what's in the garage? And I love this. It's America's best-selling vehicle, the best-selling truck, knocking on the door of 50 years, Ford F-150. And we're talking about all trims. I'm talking about I have the nicest of nice, but I have the best value because it is value time of the year when business need to make a purchase. I have F-150 starting in the 30,000, like 39,000. And that's even still for a four-wheel drive, fully capable, tows a minimum of 8,200 pounds. So it gets you all the features you need, starting the best price point, and we have every option available on the ground, ready to go.
You know what I love, what manufacturers, Ford specifically, has done and what they continue to do? If you haven't looked or bought a truck in a while, you generally know your trim that you're driving, right? I got this trim because it had these options.
Yep.
What they do is, because the vehicle has to continue to evolve for someone to need to trade, because it needs to look different, have different tech, or just stay up to date with the power, is they push the current latest trend down. And so the truck Taylor's talking about is an STX. We just launched it for a special today. It's $15,000 off. Black appearance package. So this thing has LED headlamps and fog lamps, which 5 years ago, the King Rancher Platinum didn't have. It has LED, and they're even progressive. So when you turn, it's turning that
Fog
counteracting
lights,
fog lamp on. They're black surround headlamps. It's 18-inch, which would have been the high trim, powder-coated wheels, all-terrain tires. It has a 13.2-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay, which 4 years ago, you generally would have had to been top-tier trim. 10 years ago, you couldn't have got half the size of screen. So the technology keeps... So this is an STX. It was what we would call one of our budget or value line trucks without sacrificing any type of quality. It still gets the tow package. It still gets all the options and features of the F-150. Still gets remote start from the Ford
Oh, yeah.
Pass app.
Yep.
You can schedule starts, stop starts, change climate, and this is on our value truck that can be sub $40,000.
Wow, that is
Huge
big.
value.
All right, so getting into this thing, the momentum problem.
The
The momentum problem. And sometimes you're gonna be like, it's not clearly written on the wall, and no one's gonna raise their hand and say, hey, boss, I'm out of momentum. They're not gonna say, hey, I'm not at my number because I'm out of momentum, right? That's kind of the hidden thing that you see throughout your business or your department. And it won't all come at once, and it won't just be one department or all departments. It's gonna be a little here, a little there. And momentum is very, 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 very contagious.
It is.
Whether it's bad momentum or solid rolling momentum. Think about that. In our business, every single month, we have to do what with the momentum?
We've got to ignite it. We got to stay behind it. We got to keep it going.
Because what happens, and we just did it, we closed a month. New Fords had just a bang up month.
Sure.
Sold 128 new Fords. Lewis Ford over 200 total vehicles. Momentum was rolling strong. It's year end. And then Monday, December 1st happens, and everyone's back at zero. Generally, people are used to it that are seasoned. Hey, new opportunity, equal playing field. But a lot of people are just like, right? Starting back, it's like their bank account, like Friday hit, they spent all their money and they're back at zero.
So let's talk a little bit before we get, and I'm eager to talk about this momentum, but we do need to realize, I think we take it for granted that we understand what momentum is. You know, and like we know what momentum is. And some people out there may think they know, but maybe they don't. So let's unpack this a little bit on the momentum. So momentum is when you take a task that is around performance. Okay, we're not talking about a line task where you just keep putting the item in the block. But we're talking about something that's performance-based. How many hours that a technician turns, how many cars we sell. You know, if you're in the HVAC business, how many jobs you sold this week, so on, how many roofs you sold, how many inspected. Momentum is when you start with a small piece of success and you compound on it. And I want to park there because without the small piece of success, you never get the big momentum. In order to get, if we're talking about snowball, you can't just start with this, if y'all have ever tried, and pack your big snowball and try to roll it. It doesn't work.
It's going to break. It might look like a snowball.
But you got to get it in your hand, like really, maybe a little water on it with ice, you know, so it's like really solid to get the momentum going. And then you got to keep adding to the fire. So different than starting a fire. You can't put the big log on the fire, can you? You got to get some kindling in there. You got to break it up. You got to get it going. And in our business selling cars, we may take a deal that really doesn't make financial sense.
Oh, there's plenty of that.
And I'm not talking about the old age unit or the hard to sell unit.
No.
I'm talking about a unit that on paper, this thing will sell and almost sell itself. But we know we have a salesperson that we got to get the momentum started. So we take the deal because long term, it's going to equal even more success.
You know, that probably rolls into another factor of definition is, and I love this, momentum is emotional.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? And we're guys like, oh, leave your emotions at home. But understanding the correct time for the correct emotions, whether you want them to or not, your team is driven from the emotions of the momentum or lack thereof.
Highly, very much.
Right? So you're just talking about, can everyone get off on the snap count?
That's right.
Can everyone get here and then we're all going to shoot a quick video or whatever that KPI is. And then you get a little emotional, like, solid, dude. I just listened to that phone call that you talked to that guy. That was so solid. I know he hung up on you, but you had your words right. Yeah. And then he's like, okay, all right. He's like, hey, let's do another one. You do another one, you set an appointment. You're like, that's solid. Hey, everybody, Taylor just set an appointment. And it's the emotion. So your team gets to be cheerleaders for that momentum emotion. And I say you get to be because you choose whether you are or you aren't. And it makes all the difference of Dead Sea or Thrive.
It does. And I'm going to relate this to sports because we're in the middle of sports, okay? If you've ever been to, it could be basketball, football, it could be any sports, but I'm going to talk about football for example. And we talk about men not being emotional, but you go to a football game, that rule goes out the window.
Oh, yeah.
They're all emotional.
Oh, yeah, they'll have their shirt
And
off and
and if you don't tell me that momentum doesn't matter, then why in a game do they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on AV?
Oh yeah.
Why do they have the cheerleaders? Why do they have the band? Why do they have the huge LED scoreboards out there? Because they're trying to get the momentum going with the team. And when that gas and it's quiet in there, that team's not going.
it's like you're watching golf.
And same thing, why do they make such a big deal out of when they get a first down and everybody yells, "First down"?
Just trying to
It's
get
because they're
emotion.
getting the momentum and the emotion involved, and you're trying to tell the team, "Good job," so then they drive it all the way down the field.
Yes.
You know, that's what's so important here that we're talking about, and sports relate to business so much. It's just like we forget it. You know, like when we were a kid, we're all encouraging and recruiting, and all of our buddies were talking and we're pushing forward. And in college, the same thing. And all of a sudden, we get in the business world, we're like, let's not do that anymore. Let's not have fun.
That's where
Let's
we
not have
get to be
momentum.
different.
That is
That's where our sales meetings will be different than anybody else's.
because they have emotion involved.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun and it's
Mhm.
exciting. And we'll find people and they just sold something, or even if they just did a great walk around. I love after our Saturday morning, if you hadn't watched it, go on Facebook, our show and go. We do our Saturday morning meeting live. I love going after the show and go and walking through and the salespeople that did the walk around, finding them and one-on-one, telling them how good a job they did on that. You can see their face light up, and you can't tell me that that doesn't help catapult their Saturday. You know, just because of that small there of momentum.
Yeah. So when you see a teammate or a whole team with momentum,
Uh-huh.
what does that look like? How can you spot that? Do they like, yeah, I got the momentum rolling? Probably never hear those words, do you?
No, probably not at all. Well, I know you don't at all. What you see happening is, and you can feel it when you go into a place. It's no different than going into a restaurant that's rocking and rolling. Like you can feel the energy and the vibe. You see people moving a little bit quicker. You see smiles on faces.
Yeah.
You know, in our business, you see cars moving around. You see people in offices. You don't see these idle huddles. If you walk in somewhere and you see huddles of employees, and I'm not talking about a meeting, but just huddles of employees standing around, they've lost their mojo. You know, you need them moving.
Yeah.
You need them moving and shaking and smiles on their face, and you can just feel it. Like I don't know exactly what's going on at this business, but something's going on.
Mhm. That's no different as a manager, and as you managing your team, that's a quick gauge of you look up from one of your tasks and you see that idle pocket of employees. You're like, whoop, hold on. I know they're not moving in the direction they need to be because they're standing here, not obviously helping customers.
So you got to keep your thumb on that. The one other thing in the definition that we didn't talk about is busy does not equal momentum.
That's such a good point.
Busy does not equal
Mhm.
momentum. So you have to realize that just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're productive.
Now we're in the automotive, so I'm switching from sports to automotive because
Okay.
this is easy. This is easy to do. If your vehicle is in park or in neutral and you're revving the engine,
Mhm.
you're turning 4,000
Sounds like
RPMs.
it's doing a lot.
You're turning 5,000 RPMs.
It's
No
not
different than
going
you being
anywhere.
busy throughout the day. But if you don't put it in drive, it does jack squat.
Mhm.
So how do you think that in our business we tell the difference between busy and moving forward or having positive momentum?
And naturally, I have to check myself on this all the time. When I'm doing the activity, I'm saying, am I doing an activity that's going to equal the results that my team needs?
Mhm.
Or if I'm talking about me individually, and the activity I'm doing right now, what will the outcome be?
Mhm.
Will it have just filled the time for the day?
Yeah.
Or no, when I do this, it's going to start this. Or when I make this many phone calls, it's going to get me X amount of appointments. And when I get the appointments, then they're going to show when I'm going to sell a car, if we're talking about selling cars. So you always check yourself of the activity I'm doing right now. Is it the most productive thing I can be doing? And does it align with my goals for today?
Yeah, I think people get hung up so much, and I mean all people, in the act of being busy, right? Just busy, but like is it productive? Is it moving towards the goal that you're working on? Is everyone on the same page? Or are you just all just kind of busy flailing around and you got your 8 hours in, 10 hours, 12 hours, and didn't accomplish much?
And I think, like, our mind is such a powerful and complex machine, you can convince yourself of anything.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking about the basic stuff of you got down the rabbit hole on some social media page and you look up and it's 45 minutes later and you've just burned brain cells. What I'm talking about is maybe I went in there to do a spreadsheet to go over KPIs with employees and I accomplished what I needed to accomplish to be able to go to the meeting. But then I just keep digging deeper because it feels good and like I'm accomplishing something. But at some point in time, I've passed over what was relevant to go over with everybody. And I could spend 2 more hours pulling 18 other reports and combining them trying to look for a trend.
And there's time, it depends your role, your position. There's time for discovery, right? Because you don't know what you
Well,
don't
there
know.
is.
And so then, but then you have to know you cannot bring the entire encyclopedia and try to deliver it to someone
Hmm.
and expect that they're gonna get something from it or do something with it. So there's time when you're just kind of doing a little bit of I'm not sure where this is going, but I need to dissect
Hmm.
it. But in your normal momentum productive work, you're gonna have your reports, your KPIs. You're gonna look at these things, measure those, and pass them down.
And if you're in a management role, let's switch over to a management role now. We talked a little bit about individual, but if you're in a management role, one of the key things, and y'all have heard me talk about it, but is what I'm doing right now going to have an X factor
Mm.
with everybody else?
Yeah.
And especially if if you own your own business out there, you don't have a lack of to-do list. What you have a lack of is prioritizing what's gonna equal the biggest outcome.
Yep.
You got plenty of things to do, but you need to prioritize that list by the things that affect other people. They're either waiting on you
Mhm.
or you're coming out with this incentive program that maybe is going to accelerate the momentum amongst 10 of your sales team
Mm.
or your production team. That has got to go to the top being the most productive because you have an X factor there. And then filter in the non-X factor stuff in between. It still has to get done, but don't do the X factor stuff at the end of the day where you lost 8 hours of productivity over 10 people.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's super important. All right, so that helped us really define what momentum actually is, how we see it in our daily, kind of breaking that down.
Yeah, and I think, to talk about too on just and I know we'll get into it, about the signs of momentum slipping.
Yeah.
And that's you just really have to keep your thumb on it. It's never a set it and forget it. If you get your car rocking and rolling and drive, and let's say you get your car up to 100 miles an hour, which is fast. Once you put it in neutral, it will keep moving.
Hmm.
But at some point in time, it's going to go to a standstill. You're out camping and you build this great fire and you put some overnight logs on it. At some point in time, if you don't go back there and you keep stoking it, the fire will die down.
You can just tell that it's KPIs or performance metrics or measuring on the daily,
Hmm.
or throughout the day of looking to see, hey, that thing was moving real fast, so that person was super productive, but right now, what would be the temperature of that?
Yeah.
And that's one of those things as a manager, you get to look at to make sure that momentum is still rolling. If you catch it, if you catch that car that's bumped into neutral
Uh-huh.
at 100, it's pretty easy to slip it back into drive and keep momentum without losing much ground.
That's right.
If you catch an employee that's rolling super strong and somehow gets distracted by Five Car Fred or just TikTok, then you can quickly bump them in. Now, if you wait, if you're the lazy manager, or if you're just a someone who's looking at the results, it's going to be too late.
It
You're
is.
going to burn a month or something that you'll be like, "What happened to Larry over here? I thought he was having a banger month." He's like, "Well, he was. Then something happened,
Yeah,
and no one helped him out there."
I think that's so important. And I watched a couple videos the other day on the guy. A buzzword in business right now is passive income,
Mhm.
and so many people have a misconception of what passive income is. And they're like, well, buy these rentals or do this or that, and you'll have passive income. Well, that's not passive income because you still got to manage the rentals. You still got to do this. You still got to do that. And the reason I bring that up is because so many people want to put something, get it going, and then walk away from it and expect it to keep going. That's not the case.
Mm.
You have to manage the activities. You've got to make sure that momentum's going. And then you've got to throw in, in our business, some spiffs, some incentives to keep that thing going every once in a while. That's not a set it and forget it either, but you got to always keep your thumb on that.
You do.
Good discussions there. All right, here's a question for you. We'll go through this real quick, and then we got a bonus item to talk about. Teams with strong momentum are how much more productive than teams without it? Is it 5%, 15, 30, or 60%?
Teams with momentum versus teams without it. How
Yeah.
much more productive?
Productive.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would have said the highest.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
But that's a lot. Think about that. If
That
you're talking
is,
about
that is.
production being 100% versus 160%,
Okay. Okay.
like,
Okay.
so the answer is 30,
The answer is 30%. Answer is 30%.
which is extremely solid.
It is extremely solid. Hey, I had to throw a bonus buy in here because this is coming out at the right time for all the businesses out there. We just got a power buy of ProMaster EV vans. Okay. And before you shut the speaker off, because I said EV, listen up. So we were able to buy directly from Ram, and we've got 10 of these right now. EV 1-ton ProMaster vans. Now, these are fully outfitted. Okay. They've got over 140-mile range. They've got adaptive cruise, heated seats, heated steering wheel. They have the roll up rear door like you'd see on a
Pretty
delivery van,
solid.
like a UPS, like an Amazon. They've got a sliding side door. Okay. Shelves in them, bulkhead,
High roof.
super high roof.
Yeah.
All the linings. Let me tell you this. The window sticker on these things are $88,000. And they have between 50 and 200 miles on them.
Okay, so they're brand new.
Now they were hail damaged.
Okay.
That's the disclosure, complete transparency. They were hail damaged. Manufacturer had to get them back because they were in transport. They fixed the majority of the hail damage. There's still some small dents on the very top. These things are $55,000 off. 55,000.
Okay.
They were 88,000. They're now 33 and 34,000.
Oh my God.
And I just had to pause there. And there's a plug we don't usually do, but if you are in an in-town delivery, save $55,000.
Hey, and I'll tell you, whether you like EV or not, we had e-transits. We had some e-transits. We were trying to sell them. We couldn't get anybody to see the momentum behind these, and we said, hey, let's just create our own momentum. So we bought one and put it for our parts delivery van.
Yep.
It's been probably 2 years now, a year and a half, 2 years. It's got over 40,000 miles, and believe you me, we service stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like if it needs something, we do it. We have not serviced it one bit because there's nothing to service. We maybe have put a set of tires on it,
yeah.
but there's nothing to do. And it has yet to, and they were so reluctant. They said, no, we drive further than the 140 miles. We drive further than that. And I said, if it breaks down, call me and I'll come get a truck and a trailer. Not if it breaks down, it runs out of range and I'll come get you. Right? I'll send an Uber to pick you up so you don't have to sit in the cold.
Yeah.
They have yet to. They have yet to. And they've gone up to 153 or 7 miles on one charge, and they love it.
Yeah.
They never have to go to the gas station, so their employees aren't getting sidetracked with, whatever at the gas station. They plug it in every night, and every morning it's fully charged and ready to go.
That's good stuff for sure. So come by and check those out. All right, next subject up. Now let's talk about, we talked about what momentum is. Let's talk about how teams lose momentum.
Okay.
They lose momentum. Because I do feel like, especially for entrepreneurs out there, or if you step into a management role, I feel like everybody finds some momentum initially. And it's because you're gung-ho, you're out there, you're ready to make a difference, whether you're hired for the position or opening a new business, and you get your momentum going, but then you lose it. And a lot of times that comes from, if we peel it back, and we talked about this, too many priorities, no progress.
Yeah, if you throw like the kitchen sink at a teammate or at a whole crew and you're like, hey, here's what we need. We need to do this, 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 and this, and this, which probably all need to get done. You just have to layer it. And so as soon as you do that, you'll circle back in a day or 5 days or a month and nothing will have happened because they already had their main priorities. And then you just gave them 4, 5, 6, 8 other things to work on. Like, do you guys not hear me, or did I not say it clear enough, or so that's one of the things is too much.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things is when you think about day one you started in your position versus 2 years down the road, you have a whole lot more on your plate. You really do. You
Mhm.
know, day one, you thought you had a lot coming at you, and you did because you were learning,
Doesn't it?
but you were really just trying to move the needle
Yep.
in production or sales or whatever else it may be. And then farther down the road, then you're doing all the rest of this stuff, which are important, but it starts taking priority over the production activities.
Mhm.
And I just encourage you, like, just list down what you got to do for the day and then look at it and go, which one of these are revenue generating? Which one of these are other people waiting for me on?
Mhm.
And those have to be the priorities of the day.
Yep.
They have to be. Without revenue, the business doesn't sustain. And your revenue generating people should be the priority.
Yep. That's gonna be first thing in the morning of what you turn on and you go and more times than not, we see that it just someone gets in a spot, they're progressing, they're growing, they think they have a lot, not really, it's just a new atmosphere. They get going, and as time progresses, it gets easier because you continue to train and stay in that same mindset, and it's like, "Let me have more, let me have more, let me have more," while they're not continue to prioritize the thing that made them successful from the get-go.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. You know, also another subject that comes in here is communication.
Mhm,
You know, about communication getting muddy. And that'll happen
mhm.
whether we mean to or not. We'll cover a new subject of like, hey, you need to do this. And an employee goes, well, do I need to do this or do I need to do what you told me the other day? And you taught me to do X, Y, and Z, and now you're adding Q to it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think communication's you've got to be very clear there and not assume that they understand that they still need to do their production stuff. They just need to feather this new piece in as well.
It either gets muddy from that or it gets muddy from lack of communication because you continue to let certain things happen.
Hmm.
So you're like, it'll fix itself. Okay, we'll start working through that. I'll address it next time. That's not something I need to write them up this time on.
Hmm.
And then you look down the road and it's happened over and over and over and it's multiplied. And then you are stuck deep in the mud.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
that was really,
You know, then another piece there is wins stop being celebrated. And I'll give you a couple examples non-automotive here, and then you guys jump in automotive. Um, I can remember when we ran our first 5K and how many people were excited about it
Mhm.
and asked you about it, or your first half marathon, and everybody was talking about it.
oh, yeah.
And then years down the road, it becomes the norm.
Mhm.
Or the first time you serve at church
Oh, yeah.
and they're all excited about it. Thank you so much. And you look up 4 years later and you're like, does anybody even know I'm doing anything anymore?
Yeah.
You know, so that's really like you just get numb to it and you shouldn't because again, those are your producers. And when you prioritize the momentum with the revenue generators and the producers, you never lose sight of celebrating the wins.
That that's so good because it's so many people let that go, but it's so easy to re-win at.
It is.
So think about that. Think of our producers that constantly crank out a crazy amount of hours in the shop, or our salespeople that constantly sell 20 plus a month. You kind and it's just it's funny you say that about, if you go to the gym or you run every single day and then someone's like, "Hey, didn't see you at the gym this morning." You feel victimized. Like,
Where were you at all these?
screw you, I've been doing this forever.
I
Like,
took one day
where
off.
have you been? Can I not have one day off? It becomes the expected, right? And you're like, can I not? But then if you think about the other side, if someone's cranking out 400 hours a month
Yeah.
and the shopper selling 25, 30, it is so easy, but it is so important that you stop and still say, good job. You put in the work and you performed better than what was expected and better than average. But more often than not, we're on to the next, right? Because you think like, okay, that one's going, let's get another one going. But you got to circle back
Gotta go
around,
back
check the oil, check the
and shut
person, how's
down.
it going? And say, hey, I don't know if anybody's told you, but you did an amazing job. And I just want to say thank you again. And I know you're used to this. I know you run every single day, but you just completed another half marathon. Good job. Or whatever that is, right?
Yeah,
And
you do have to do that. Yesterday, I was sitting talking to the team at Ford, and all the guys, hold on. good job last month.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. And they're like, no, that's what we're supposed to do. I was like, I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for running with me over here and doing what you need to. I appreciate that. I see it, but great job. Like as it sits now, we're X above everyone else. And they're like, yeah, but we were supposed to do that. And I said, I know, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Like, no, I expected you to win.
correct.
We've trained to win,
Yeah.
but you won, and I wanted to say good job.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you don't schedule the opportunities to do that, can I tell you as a leader, you're not going to do it. Now, sporadically you will, but not consistently. Every once in a while you'll think about, oh man, it's been a while since I walked back there in the shop and told them good job. It's been a while since I went and told the sales team good job. But if you schedule it, it forces you to stay on pace with it. Now, let's give a couple examples for the listeners out there. So let's talk about sales first. With sales, we celebrate sales and productivity every single Friday meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then once a month, we announce the top 5 from all the dealerships. And yes, we hand them checks, but we do the music and we do the lights and we've scheduled it. Where then, if we've scheduled it and prioritized it, we won't forget about it.
Yeah.
In all the other departments, that happens during our cake day. And we celebrate the hours and the most ROs written and the top parts person.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the top performers. But what also happens too is you've got to remember you've got other up and coming producers that may not be at the top yet, but they also need some congratulations to keep the momentum behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So then we'll ask our parts manager, our service manager, our sales manager, hey, give me somebody else that hit their personal best for the month. Maybe it wasn't the top of the group, but let me give them a shout out or a certification, or 1 week they had a stellar week on hours turned. So you've got to layer in momentum for everybody, just not your top producers.
Yeah. That's super solid there.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes too, you see that of your middle of the ground, they're wanting to do better, they're wanting to move up. My one sales guy that comes to mind over at Ford, he can handle any customer, any situation better than my top performing guy. And a lot of times, more than not, I'll give him the customer because I know he's going to handle the situation. Doesn't matter if it's angry customer, they're yelling at him. He's going to walk through thorough, do good process. So important to acknowledge that team member as well and not let them be forgotten about. Mythbuster time, diving into, getting involved. We just need to motivate people to get momentum back.
Mm. We just need to motivate people to get momentum back.
Oh, I hear this sometimes. The manager's going through and the train is going into the water the wrong direction and you're still whipping the horse.
So one of the things about just speaking to try to get momentum back, once it's going down or it's plateaued, it requires action, not words.
Mm.
It's different than the first of the month. The first of the month we come out with objectives and sales and programs, and it's rah, 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 rah. And those are a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody's down and like in the trenches, they're like, show me, help me get out of this.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah with your talking. Show me how this is actually working.
Yep.
And then that's when we'll take that really short deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we'll say yes to this or that maybe on paper doesn't make sense, but it will down the road because we're reigniting that fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I yesterday had a text from another dealer in our 20 group. It was actually the dealer's son. He was like, "Hey, I've got this report that you guys went over. I'm working on this." He's like, "How do you get your team to actually? Where do you get this data?" I told him. He said, "How do you get your team actually to follow through with that?" I said, "Well, you set that standard. Here's my expectations. Here's how you do it. You make sure you train them. They understand where it's coming from, how to get it. And then that's a new expectation. You measure it daily,
Mm-hmm.
and you set an example." And he's like, did you lose anybody? I was like, "No, I didn't lose anybody. I gained,
Yeah.
gained growth, but people actually using it." He's like, "I just feel like there's going to be so much pushback." And I said, "Well, this, among everything else, we have to show people how it works. So your
Mhm.
action," I said, has to come from the top down
Mm-hmm.
of here's the game plan. Let me get in the trenches with you and I'm going to show you kind of how it works. And then you might learn something along the way, but they're going to be like, "Oh, shoot. they're in there. I better get in there and do this. And then they'll try it and then they'll have some success and that success becomes momentum.
Mhm.
And that is the motivation, but the momentum is what you showed them how it works. And so he was like, I just don't know how I'll do this. I was like, you got to get involved.
You just got to get involved. You got to get started. And top performers,
Mhm.
like you're not worried about the low performers. It's the top performers. Guess what? They really like accountability.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't watched the documentary about the Dallas Cowboys, whether you're a Dallas Cowboy fan or not,
So good.
but it's really good because Troy Aikman talks about that and the
Mhm.
changes of the coaches.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
you got to have that.
So you hit the nail on the head there. Momentum doesn't come from just motivation. It comes from clarity, alignment, and wins. So diving in, being involved, that's when I love getting involved the most
Mm-hmm.
with someone whenever they need the most help. Whenever they've done a good job and done the process, that's just bragging on your employee that's done what they're supposed to do whenever it's an easy deal for you to get involved. Whenever it's really fun to show, hey, I'm on your team and I'm going to help pull you out of the situations when you get involved and you show them clarity, alignment, and show them how to win.
Was that supposed to be a Mythbusters or a subject we talked about?
Can be both. You know what? It's our podcast. We
That's
get to
yours.
do
You do whatever you want with it.
whatever we want with it. But that was a good one to talk about rebuilding momentum. So we kind of started talking about this, but you've got to dive in
Mm-hmm.
and you start with a small,
Yep.
clear win.
You do. And if you think about it's going to take the most effort too. So if we're talking about pushing a really heavy ball, or we're talking about getting a car started, we're talking about any of that, the most power is used when you're taking off.
Yep.
The most power to move that 300-pound ball that you're pushing or whatever it is going to be right from the get-go. Once you get it going,
She's going to roll.
then it's going to roll. So just know that you got to start small. And what in our business, starting small is, hey, let's get the manager in the call center with the salespeople and make calls with them to get them the win of the appointment. And then when the appointment's done, then the manager's standing there waiting to greet the customer. So then those small wins there before we even sold the car shows the salesperson, hey, they're here to help me and the proof's in the pudding and they're not just talking about it during the meeting.
You know what I love was starting small, going in the direction you need to. You're automatically going into the next step you need to go, which is reestablishing the direction and the priority of that, because that's going to help you be effective, obviously, at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's just the clarity thing of saying, hey, here's our direction. It's still the same, or here's our direction. It's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there. And then you can help understand that. But it's just the clarity of understanding that. So not everyone's like, I don't know. Haven't really heard from the team.
Mhm.
Momentum was lost in that. Do we keep wrestling this bear even though it's not working? Or what are we doing?
You bet. You
Yeah.
bet.
So important that you'd said right there, but realizing how the momentum was lost and where you need to reset your standards or your guidelines or your boundaries to one, make yourself more accountable to follow up on that so it doesn't happen again, but to give your team those clear expectations of this is what you need to follow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's good. Hey, sometimes you got to adjust, but be quick to adjust. If you got to change quarterbacks, change quarterbacks.
Yep.
If you got to change, we recently did this. One of our metrics was 50 phone calls a day. And that's what we were holding the team accountable for. And an adjustment happened there, and we said 50 activities. I don't care whether it's text, phone calls, emails, however you put those three together, get 50 of them. You reestablish what it is and the direction, and you still prioritize it.
Yeah, don't get stuck in your ways of no, this is the idea, this is what we said, this is what we're gonna do. Like, do not get hung in that. Like, especially if you're trying to keep momentum or rebuild your momentum, you're gonna have to be a little bit moldable as you're hoping they will be moldable so you can create some momentum. So just understand what's something you can measure, something that you can see growth, put a leaderboard up so everyone can see, and when win happens, stop and then hey, we won here. It's because we reset these standards. Everyone's on the same game plan, and let's go.
Mm-hmm.
The big way to do that is you have to have somebody in your circle that feels comfortable enough to call you out
Yeah.
and to say, hey, Matt, let's relook at this or look at this from another angle. And as soon as you have somebody that does that, know that they care and they're trying to help you be better. Don't take offense to it, because if you squash it once, they'll never do it again.
Yep.
And you need that person that can help, because when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see those opportunities and when you need to pivot. You might be thinking you're trying to gain momentum and you're losing momentum because you haven't reestablished your direction and your clarity.
Mhm. That's really big there of going into. So knowing just communicating correctly with your team, giving them the clear expectation, and then just what role does leadership energy play in your team momentum?
It plays a ton. I mean,
Yes.
you've gotta show up. It's no different than you've heard us talk about when you go to see a show or a program, and as soon as the curtains come back, they expect this level.
Yep.
So you gotta be on. When you show up to work, when you go into a meeting, they're expecting a high level, and that's what you've gotta do. And some days you gotta put on your big boy pants,
Mhm.
because maybe you don't feel the greatest. Maybe your kids brought home some sort of virus or flu or this or that. You gotta put it on because your team is depending upon you.
Yeah.
And you gotta show up because they're only gonna rise as high as you put that. So the leader plays an entirely important role there.
I saw this the other day, and this is when we talked about football. And I loved it, and sometimes your transitions or your where you adapt won't result in the clear win or anything else that you're looking for. But football game this past week, an Arkansas coach, they were talking to him, and they didn't end up winning. But he started the backup quarterback.
Yep.
Whenever he was talking about it, he said, "Why'd you start the backup quarterback?" He said he was showing in practice that he was trying the hardest.
Yep.
He was showing up. He had done all this other. I felt like he deserved the starting role the most. So taking the guy that was highly recruited of everything else and didn't start him.
Mhm.
And the other guy came out on fire, and
He
he
did
wasn't
great.
as seasoned of anyone else, but he was sure giving it everything he had. And sometimes that's a spark that your team needs that says, "Hey, I know you've been the best, but I'm gonna step you back because this guy's really trying hard." And then what it does is it sometimes bleeds over to the rest of your team. I love seeing that, and that's really a true leader because he's gonna get backlash if it doesn't work good or
Yeah.
anything else. So know that
Stick
you
his
have
neck
to
out
do
there.
that. But I like that a lot.
That's one of those things that, like, success is not ever owned, it's rented, and the
Mm.
rent is due daily. It's like one of
Yes.
those things that you have to each day you gotta re-earn your spot, re-earn your, level of leadership. It's one of those things like, you picked leadership, right? And so you get to make that decision like, "I gotta go get a quick state change, I'm not feeling it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I didn't get up as early as I wanted, or I've just got a lot going on." Well, you're about to have a bunch of people staring and looking at you
Yep.
that are going to take your direction. And they say 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What are you doing with your hands? What's your face look like? What's your posture? All those things that sometimes people overlook. And if you are not 100% ready, and if you haven't paid the rent for that success that day,
Mhm.
it's just gonna whack you. And so leadership is not for everyone because you got to put your game face on every single time without fail, no exceptions. And it's okay behind closed doors to say, "Hey,
Yep.
let's talk about this game plan. Like, what were we doing? And what, like, can you take this one? Because I'm not feeling it.
Yep.
I'm not,
Like,
yeah.
hey, help me with this one right here. I know we normally do this, but flip this so and to make it work because it has to be clear, rah, because they're counting on your momentum then.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep. No, that
And
that's true.
another thing we talk about, and we've talked about it a couple times, I think it's so important to celebrate wins as constant and as loud as you can be. In our last keg day, we have a million bajillion different things to talk about. And we constantly challenge the team, hey, give us a metric.
Mhm.
Because if you think about the top guys generally are the top guys, and you
Yep.
want to celebrate them, but there's also the up and coming that they might be 300% of their production, but still it's not the top of the team,
Yep.
right? They normally do 30 hours and now they've bumped up to whatever it may be,
Sure.
50, 60. Like that was a big jump, right? And so you're counting on your team to help you with those. But like we had a couple of our technicians get their master and their senior master certification,
Mhm.
and we slowed down to really slow the raw,
Yep.
not the excitement, but slow down the speed to
Sure.
go over all the time that was put into that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
one of them was 6 years and one was 7 years or one was 10 years to be able to get that level of certification. It is so important because we've had it before and we do our very best, but 275 employees, someone's name will be missed off the birthday poster or their anniversary, and it will wreck them. Sometimes it'll wreck them for the day, sometimes for the week, sometimes for the month. Sometimes we've had people want to turn in their notice. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so like
We
one.
don't
You're
do
like,
it all.
just grow up. Like, I'm sorry,
You can't do
but well, what you is like, hey, I have failed. Let me go ahead and write this in.
That's where
Let
you
me
got
Sharpie
get
it
used to
in.
sharpening your writer.
Yeah, I'm like, "Well, we've spilt the milk. All right, somebody get a straw and start sucking it up." Like, we gotta get that.
No.
But it's one of those things you have to
Celebrate
stop and
wins.
celebrate those,
Constant.
because leaders are always talking and they're always going over metrics. Somebody might only get that one time, and we've seen it on a manufacturer call when you killed it,
Yep.
and they don't even say a thing about it, and you're like, well, heck with you. I just
Exactly.
busted it. Our team just killed it. And you didn't even mention me because I'm not out here doing this or chasing your fancy shrine over here. And so you have to relate that to you and then down to your team to realize that you could be doing that to them.
Sure.
And even sometimes too, you've got to remember, and that's just where we lean on our managers. But I had a manager tell me, and we announced during last cake day, we had an employee that his son is graduating high school, but he just signed with a full ride to college to play baseball. That was a big deal to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you figure out stuff like that and you celebrate it with everybody else,
That's big.
that drives them and they feel a part of that success. Because you got to remember, they're here to generate an income to give them access to something else.
So they're figuring.
And the more you talk about the something else, it really lights that
Yeah,
momentum.
because
that
everyone
fire.
talks about the metrics, right? And as guys, stereotypical leaders, we're talking about this and growth and growth and growth. One cake day, someone was like, hey, I just on a whim, I was like, hey, do you want me to announce that you guys got engaged?
Yeah.
And you guys died laughing at me like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And I was like,
It's good though.
yeah, and it was totally, I was just joking.
Yeah.
And then the person was like, oh, she would really enjoy that. And I was like, I can paint that on
Yeah, come
real
on.
good.
Here
Let's
we
go.
go.
And it was way out of character, way out of normal. But those little things,
Oh, that's
no
great.
one is doing and no
That's right.
one is celebrating.
Yeah.
Right? They might do it on social media, but everyone puts everything on social media. So to do it in person, celebrate some wins and some fun things out of the ordinary are super big.
That's big.
That keeps momentum of people enjoying where they work.
That's right.
Absolutely going into this. So good covering momentum and just being in the middle of it there.
Any other thing, momentum to keep it moving?
Yep.
How to identify it or what loses momentum? Anything we missed there?
I don't think so.
Okay, keep the momentum rolling. All right. Question I want to ask you guys. What's one go-to move you use when you feel momentum slipping?
The consistent one, and we all do this. I'll answer this, but we all do this because our dad did this. Is you get back involved. You know what I mean? You just get
Plug
back
yourself
involved. You
back
just
in.
plug yourself back in. It's like there's a hole in the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to repair it, but you better plug it first,
Yeah.
and you got to get involved to plug it.
Yeah.
So whether it's getting back down at the desk, if it's being in the service lane, if it's being in the finance offices, wherever it is, your presence, asking questions, not to come down on them. Where can I help? What can I do? Or just sitting in the same office and doing your normal work. Grab your laptop, your iPad, or remote access in. That will instantly start swinging the moment.
That's my favorite. That's my absolute favorite thing to do. There's high level management things that need to be done, but then I like to be even before momentum
Sure.
is slowing. Like I want to be part of the success,
Mm-hmm.
but when I sit down in the sales manager's office, I sit in the first desk,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't specifically by design, but it works amazing.
Yeah.
Because I can quickly remove distractions because I'm not the normal person that's there, and so I can see what's going on, what's the temperature of the momentum. Is it rolling? Is it neutral? Or is it sliding backwards? And then you can quickly help that out. And then you'll see your sales managers will be like, man, I appreciate when you do that. I was like, hey, let me help you make this small adjustment right here. Go in with this pencil just like this on the next 7 deals and see and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that worked. Because we know this, right? We've
Fresh
talked
eyes.
about this, your fresh eyes. Also, we've talked about pushing things down and delegating. You know that your best manager is going to perform at a 70 to 80% of what you can do,
Mhm.
right? If that was your forte and you were
Sure.
good at it. So you can quickly inject 20 to 30% more production by you being
That's right.
involved,
That's right.
which then they get to be a part of. And they're like, whoo, that worked faster. We closed higher, all those things just by you being involved.
That's right.
Yep.
Taylor, something you see different or your go-to?
If it's something that needs immediate attention there, it's just you put your other stuff to the side and you immediately go there. Just like Matt talked about, if there's a hole in the boat, you go and do it. It's some people fail in this big because they halfway do it. They're like, I don't really want to go get involved in that. I don't like it's something you don't like doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're halfway, you're like, okay, yeah, we've adjusted. It's not going to adjust and it's not going to fix. So whatever it needs to be addressed, favorite thing to do is be able to, okay, I'm going to go insert and I'm going to do it right now and do it.
And it's one of those things, the difference of helping out when you need to plug a hole and being an armchair quarterback or a helicopter parent, right? You're not on every single deal going out and say, oh, no, let me look at this. Because
Nope.
what'll happen is then the salespeople will start coming to you. Sales managers will be like, what the heck? Why aren't they coming to me?
Yeah, I think that's important to say. So when we go get involved, we don't say, give me the ball.
No.
It's, you're still getting the ball. Let me go block for you. Or let me give some insight to the guy up in the press
It's
box.
like, hey, I just happened to notice your ball's wet. Here's a fresh ball. I'm going to clean it up. Let me block.
Yes.
And let me tell the guy in the press box.
Like that's so important that like you're not going down there to have a spotlight to be put on you to go, hey, just remember, I'm the best.
No.
I'm the one that did this, and that's where y'all should do it like
Let
me.
me close this customer. I got this.
That's not the case. You're sitting there almost fly on the wall, but you're present and you can address, you're removing distractions, and we're doing those instantly. You know, hey, what can I help you with? You're removing that off your producers. Remember, those are in the keys back there. Have you gone and looked there?
There's a difference in doing that nicely. It's no different than me trying to keep people on track with the car wash Fridays,
Yeah.
especially when we had Dodo and we had just a mayhem. I'm like, and I talked about it every Friday. I felt like a broken record, and I had to you're not doing this, and I wasn't saying, hey, you're doing wrong. I'm just saying, hey, here's how we need to do it. And so then instead of me just going, because I've done it, I can wash more cars than you. That's what I'm like, hey, let's have a competition, Ford versus Chrysler, see who can do more car washes. And so then I was like, well, there's 45 people out here getting coffee. I can't wash 45 cars and still be out there to serve those people. So what I would do is just go out there and talk to them like, oh yeah, we're happy to get a car wash. And so then I found someone, I was like, hey, she's super jacked up. Here's her car, needs to get a car wash, pull it up here. Here she is. And then I could move to the next one. But I wasn't just taking over the entire thing.
That's true.
There's a big difference there.
Yep.
That's really good. Absolutely.
All right, well, Saad, thanks for joining us for this episode 64. And like always, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get our latest episodes. Hey, and if there's something that you want to hear about, please tell us. You're like, nah, I don't know, they don't listen. Like, I don't know, that was kind of fun going over everybody's questions.
Sure.
And if you feel like you are the next guest of Crossroad Conversation podcast,
Let us know.
shoot us a message. Shoot us a quick video and say, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. I've got this to share, or I think you guys are wrong, or whatever it is.
Whatever it may be.
So just shoot us a message. We're not saying we will, but we're not saying we won't. As always, crossroadconversationpodcast.com, lewissuperstore.com. We'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to give it a like, share it with your friends and family, visit our website, and send us some questions. We want to know what you'd like to hear, who you'd like to hear from, and what you want to see, or maybe even some questions for us to answer about either the automotive industry or just business in general.